Good morning. This is Marie from Creations Paper Crafting. I have another flip through today for May flowers. In my collection of papers, I have flowers, but they're mostly roses. So I went out to Etsy to see if I could find something a little different than roses. And I ran across this particular bright flower paper from Beau Arts. I fell in love with it. It speaks to my past as I came of age in the early 70s. We have here a little journal place, and I've clipped it shut with a hidden paper clip. Now, I must say, as much as I love this paper, there was no relief, no place to journal. It's just beautiful, intense flowers. So what I did was I made a texture that would match the colors, and I printed those texture papers with some help from a few other Etsy people who make coffee dyed paper, and I just put a gradient on over the top. Of course, I didn't look those up before I started. Excuse me just a second. My hands are really dry, and I'm having trouble turning the pages, so I pulled out my green thumb to help me get through. So there's lots of beautiful flowers, and there's also lots of places where you can either write and use this as a journal, or you can put photos here. And most photos are 4x6. This page is 5.5 inches wide, less a little bit lost into the signature. So you could put 5x7s, 4x6s, 3x5s. You could cut your paper apart and put them, anywhere you'd like. I've included pockets that have journaling cards in them. More places to journal. More places to add photos depending on your wants and needs at the moment. You could even put smaller pictures on some of these flowered pages. Here's several pages that you could take, like a 3x4 or a maybe 5x6. I was thinking this morning, I really did come of age in a turbulent time. I headed off to college in 1969, and I went to the nearest state university. MU, as the people in Michigan call it, one of the first land-grant colleges. That there was. There was a colony of hippies living down on the west side of campus where Wharton Center stands today. There was also a people living in tents on the greens between the math buildings. At that time, the newer dorms were in clusters. There was a central area that had the cafeteria and game rooms and stuff like that. And there were 4 other just sleeping dorms clustered around it. I came home from class and work one afternoon to get late afternoon, just before the cafeteria closed, to get my supper. And I was advised to leave because there was a group of protesters that were going to take over the cafeteria and the dorm of that central building. Well, I gotta say, I was tired and hungry, and I grumbled quite a bit. And they finally got me out of there by telling me just to take the food with me and worry about the tray stuff later. Bring it back. The administration building was also occupied for a time by protesters. I was on a scholarship, so I couldn't afford to waste my scholarship. So I pretty much stayed out of that as much as I could. It was a time when Kent State happened. Which added to the unease. And every male over the age of 18 was subject to the draft. The boys in my age group had a choice of going to college for deferment and a lot of them, if they could find the money or get the scholarship, went to college. Those that didn't have the money or the inclination to go to college had a choice. They could either wait to be drafted or they could choose the service that they wanted to be in, because if you waited to be drafted, there was no choice. You went into the Army, like it or not. The lucky guys got sent to Europe. The unlucky guys went to Southeast Asia and Vietnam. There was also a relatively small group who chose exile and headed north to Canada, at least in my part of the country. I'm pretty sure that the guys in the southern United States may have headed to Mexico if they wanted to choose exile. Tough times. And this hippie type design has brought a lot of those memories back. The man I eventually married got a divorce from his wife and custody of his children. But when his draft number came up, he had to go. The Army got him. He was one of the lucky ones. He was stationed in Europe, and he traveled every leave that he had the opportunity to. Enough of that. This book, I saw, after I had the paper printed all out, I saw a tutorial from Treasure Books, and Natasha called it the easiest book ever. And basically, the only sewing or fastening that you had to do was the individual signatures, and then you glue the signatures to one another. And then you glued the backing or the cover to those pages. Like most of the books I make, I include enough corner stickers, photo corners, to add pictures. And this particular book has a cloth spine, and I don't know if you can see the individual, yeah, you can a little bit, the individual signatures inside. And because it isn't fastened tightly, all the pages, no matter where you go, lay flat. All the signatures, all the pages will lay flat for easy writing and easy decorating. Thanks for listening, and you have a wonderful day.